we think of the Apostle Paul and all the monumental things that he did, we must not ever forget what provoked him, what fire was lit beneath him to get him to move in such a way that he moved in doing such monumental things. You see, Paul initially was Saul, and Saul hunted the Christian house. He hunted, before the Christian house, he hunted all those that were of the following of Jesus. He hunted them, friend. Even after Jesus' transition somewhat, before he came into the knowing of the error of his ways, he hunted these people, friend. He made it a mission to wake up every single day and think of ways to break up these people's families. He would wake up every day to think of ways to imprison these people, come up with all kinds of false accusations, lies on these people, to undermine their success in life, to bind them up, to make them fail in anything and everything that they ever tried to do in life. This is the Apostle Paul. This was Paul before he became the Apostle Paul. This was Saul. He was one of the worst people to the children of his own house. Yet he did all these things thinking he was doing the right thing. It wasn't as if he had a demon come upon him and he just terrorized his brothers and sisters. He actually thought he was protecting the name of God. He was protecting the law of God. And once he came into the knowing of his error, he looked to outweigh all the wrong and all the harm that he did upon his house with righteousness. This is how Paul made such a phenomenal name for himself. He would go amongst all of the Gentile nations and speak the word of God and own up to all of his past failures and inadequacies. And he would speak to all of the wrongdoing he did to his own house. And he would look to outweigh the wrongdoing with goodness and righteousness. Yet I'm here to tell you that there are many of us today. There are many walking amongst us today that are doing the same things that Paul or Saul did in biblical times, but they're not doing it for the honor of God. They're doing it for whatever purposes and reasons that they have. There are many of us, there are many that come amongst us that look to do wickedness, just pure evil amongst one another, all for the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. I just did the Sunday service on this. Many of the things that are going on amongst us that I see on the timeline of my social media are all for either the gain of the fruit that comes from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, or to be able to solidify and to keep and maintain and manage what fruit that they have already obtained from this tree. You see, the fruit of the tree initially was not wicked. It was wicked because the fallen ones convoluted the perception of the fruit, tainting the truth of it. So what Adam and Eve got was a truth, but it was a distorted truth. And the intention that they had and the seed that was planted in their minds would grow this distortion. And it would take them off of the righteous track that God had them on and lead them down debaucherous tracks that would lead them nowhere but to further debauchery and wickedness. So what was designed for the children to stay on a righteous path has now convoluted them, has tainted them. And we see this even now today. Many of the things that we see in the world today are because of people looking to either gain this fruit or to keep this fruit. Paul would hunt these people, literally wake up every morning with a plan to sabotage the fundamental happiness that was due to every child of God. Paul would look to wake up every day to undermine these people's stability. He would try to wreak terror upon these people so that they would live in a state of fear of him, as if he was their God. Paul would look to imprison these people and rip them away from their families so that they all would become fearful, terrorized, wanderers. And Paul would consider this righteous because he thought he was doing these things in the name of his God, in the name of salvaging the integrity of his house. Yet today we see these same things happening amongst us. There are people that do these things to one another for nothing more than the fruit, the convoluted fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. There is no righteousness involved in it. It is pure wickedness. And it all has to do with the obtainment or the management and the safekeeping of the fruit that has come forth from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Not the righteous fruit, the convoluted fruit, the tainted fruit. We are loved more than we will ever know. This is fact. This life matters. It absolutely matters, friend. And you've got to be able to determine what is nonsense and what isn't. You've got to be able to consistently distinguish the nonsense from reality in real time throughout your walk in this life, lest you'll find yourself on that path of chasing that convoluted fruit that leads you nowhere. God has created this life as a majestic and a masterful place of being. If this life wasn't important, friend, it wouldn't be as majestic or as masterful as it is. Your own creation would not be as majestic and as masterful as it is. Realize these things. Stand in the truth of these things and live up to your creation. Be good to yourselves and be good to one another. Peace and love.